So let us begin. Hare Krishna. So we are in chapter 5. So we did completed chapter 4 last classes. So this is Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. Okay. Before that, let us pay obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Nananjana Shalakaya Chakshometam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धवेव च पतितां नां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णव्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चादेशतारिणे जय हो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण. Thank you everyone for coming. So let us start. So what did we do? Just a short recap. So in chapter 4 we understood where the Lord says that by understanding this transcendental knowledge of the Lord, one is liberated. That is, everything about the Lord is divya. His appearance, his disappearance, and thing, and why he comes, and how he gave this knowledge to Son God, the history, everything we learned. And he said this knowledge is transcendental, and knowing it, this divine knowledge was yet to be received by the disciplic succession of knowledge, succession, and knowing it and understanding it, I think the one is liberated. So, and then what is the thing? Finally, he said, transcend knowledge on reaching him is the goal of life, reaching the Lord. But does everybody go to him? So then he talks about the depending upon the degree of surrender, the Lord reciprocates. Because if you don't turn towards him, how can he receive you? Isn't it? So depending upon our degree of surrender, the Lord will reciprocate. And we have three things like raga, they are scared, they are attached to this material world, to this body we have, and we are scared, and we are anger. So raga, attachment, and the fear, bhaya, and the next is the your anger, krodha. Because of that illusion, we are not able to surrender to. We are so much fixed to our body identity. So this is the depending upon the degree of surrender, he will reciprocate. But everything is we have to reach. The goal is to reach the Lord. Okay. Then he talked about Varna and he said, and he created this Varnashram system. So systematically people will grow in their each, whatever be the activities or whichever the ashrama they have taken and whichever the Varna they are doing, but they have to uplift. It is meant to uplift the human beings to Krishna consciousness, to bring them out from the animal consciousness. So he wants that. It has been system is created by him and it is to uplift. Okay. But, and he talked about this karma, vikarma and akarma. How to thing to find, and you have to do sacrifices. That's only thing. Austerity, if you do willingly, that will lead us to transcendental knowledge. Without sacrifice, no one can achieve anything. Because for anything to get, we need to do some endeavor, right? So he talked about for different kinds of sacrifices, not that we have to do all, but it depends upon the nature of the people, they will take to that kind. And ultimately, you have to take the shelter of a spiritual master who is in the bona fide master, who is in the disciplic section, because he is the one who can help us to understand this science, because he has realized it. And we need to approach him with humility, serve him, and inquire him from him the science and try to understand. So this is what we learned. And then in Vanaprastha, people were taking, it just depends on the guna karma vibhaga. So actually, though he just mentioned here and things, but in the later chapters, like in 19th chapter, he gives the more details about the how the modes of nature, these four kinds of varnas are there. Like people who are in the mode of goodness, they are the ones who are known as Brahmanas, because they are the ones, their nature is peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge, and religiousness. So these are the qualities we call as the Brahmanas, because they are the ones who are in the mode of goodness, not the one who are taken by birth in that family. Okay, it depends on their nature. So he explains. I mean, he doesn't just leave it at there, but he also explains in the 18th chapter. I just thought, no, you can just recall that so that you can understand this one ashrama system a little better. And then who are in the passion, they are the ones, the Kshatriyas, who have heroism, power, physically as well as mentally, and they are drita. Drita, that means they are determined. I mean, anything they take up a work, a challenge, they are determined to complete it. They won't tolerate like the Brahmanas, because that is not their nature, right? And they like to uh, organize people. They like to give work to people and get the things done. They are that kind of nature they have, and that leadership qualities of other qualities that works for the Kshatriyas. Okay, that is they are in the Rajas mood, whereas the Vaishyas, they are the ones who are in which one? The Go Raksha, they're in the business class. And the farming, cat raising business. And the Shudras, they are the labor and service. In all this, it depends on the tendency for the person, for the jiva to take up the work. Here, the motivation for the person would be to be pure, to be self-thing. So that is the motivation for him to study transcendental knowledge, try to get the experience, and try to be religious, and these are the things which work. I mean, they are in that mode of goodness. People who are in the Kshatriyas, they are more for the trying to do things rightly, justify whatever is doing, they want to get it done in the right manner. Okay. And the Shudras, I mean, Vaishyas, they are more inclined to get profit. Whereas Shudras, they don't want to. They don't want to produce food. They don't want to go and protect and do this organizing things, not they want to study then transcendental knowledge and to be peaceful. They just want to assist something, do some work, get some money, and enjoy. That's all they are interested. They are not interested. So that is their motivation for them to earn something for their sense enjoyment. So this is the kind of, whereas these two are of higher level consciousness, Kshatriyas and Brahmanas, and people. So you might have started at this level. You might have slowly your consciousness might have raised there. Okay. So this is how it has been explained. And all these four kinds of people are there even today. We have the intellectual class, we have the administrative class, business class, and the service, right? And they are required. But if they work together in Krishna consciousness, that thing works much, the society will benefit. And then he also talked about the ashramas, the specific duties, religious duties to be given when they take up that type of ashrama. That is, he might have been, that was given in 16th chapter. People who are in the sannyasa order, they are fearless, purification of one's existence, and they cultivate self. And their duty is to spread this knowledge, teach that to the others. Okay, and they write the literary thing. That's how they write the scriptures for people to understand. So this is and they are fearless because they are not bothered about their material comforts and all that. They are in the mercy of the Lord, right? And they take up this renunciation order, not for thing. Whereas when the Vanaprastha people take, that is, they come from Grahastha level, they leave the comforts of the facilities they had been enjoying in the Grahastha life, and they hand over the responsibility to their children, and they take up to Vanaprastha. There, that is religious principle for them to do is to do austerity. They have to live a simple life and do vratas. So that is the duty of them. Okay, and in Grihastha's duty is to be charitable, dhanam, dharma, self-control, sacrifice. So everything is spelled out here in Gita, the specific duties when they come. And when they first be in the brahmacharya school, young, that time they have to study the Vedas. That is the religious duty. When a Grihastha, this is what they have to do. And Vanaprastha. From brahmacharya, you can straight away go to sannyas, or you can go three steps. So ultimately, it's a scientific thing. Varnashma's thing, religious principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in the society for the general spiritual progress of state. This is what was the intention, and it was there in the Vedic times. Okay, today we have not the perverted one, but here each one is trying to exploit the others. Okay, but Krishna covers all this in this Bhagavad Gita. I just wanted to mention to you all so that you will, when you come to those chapters, you can recall about it, right? So what we were doing in chapter 1 was, chapter 2, the Lord was telling us about identity. We are the soul and not the body. I mean, we are now, because we are in this material world, we are forgetting that we are the spirit soul, and this body is just a temporary clothes we have, dress we have, and we need, and it keep changing from birth to birth. So we come to know about our constitution position. That is, we are the servant of the Lord. We are part and parcel of Him, and our true goal in human life is to go back. And then we talked in the chapter 3 about our duty, because we are in this material world and we have the true body, the soul and the body. So what's a duty? And the thing, you have a dharma for because you have to maintain this body, and you have to take care of your family and all the responsibilities, as well as a soul, you have a duty to grow religiously. Then the knowledge, and what is it preventing us? That's what Arjuna was asking. Then he said the lust. And to overcome the lust, we need to have the spiritual knowledge. That's what we learned in this chapter 4. So we have to do duty with this knowledge. Then what happens? So what does the knowledge do? So Krishna says it's just like a asina. It's a weapon to cut all our doubts, whatever we have in our life, and then to remove the ignorance and to burn up our reactions, sinful reactions. It's like a boat which will cross the material ocean. So it will help us. So if we do our duty with this knowledge, what we'll get? That is what we are going to see in the chapter 5. Though we'll be doing duty out externally, it might look that, but internally you'll be very peaceful. How do you attain that? So that is what we are going to see in chapter 5. So, and why? And the chapter 5 starts off with a doubt from Arjuna again. Because in this verse, Krishna says, Yoga Sannyasa Karmana. So then what does this karma mean? Here is where the confusion started for Arjuna. Actually, karma it is a Sanskrit word, it can have various meanings. Okay, so that it becomes very confusing to Arjuna. So to understand, it could be an action, or it could be a duty, or it could be a reaction. It could be good and bad. So what is he thinking here is, he's thinking the Lord is telling him to sannyasa, karma is to give up the work. So then Krishna is going to, so there are 5 sections. It's a very short chapter with 29 verses. So in the first is Krishna tells, no, you don't need to renounce work. Nishkama karma yoga. That is, you're actively working is easier than renouncing work, because that will help you rather than trying to renounce the work. Okay, and then he explains that. And then he says how to perform that. He explains in verses 7 to 12. And then he gives the knowledge. Now he gives a different perspective to this. and other perspectives so that we can have a better understanding. So he talks about the three doers, the platform, who is actually doing the work. Are you the doing the work or what? Because in the world we know when we do some work, we might get the whatever we have expected, or you might get the results which you are not expected, right? When you get what you expect, you feel very happy, successful, and all that. But if you get something which is not as you expect, then you feel very unhappy and things, isn't it? But why does it happen? There are, you might have put this effort and all that, but there are so many things, factors which come, which are out of your control, which is not in your thing. So that will give. And what is that? That's what here Krishna is trying to tell us. Understanding that, you will be able to have a thing better. Then how you can get liberation by focusing on super soul. And he also mentions the Ashtanga Yoga, but which will cover more detail in the next chapter. And then he gives us a pace formula. So ultimately, what happens is we are getting, Krishna is giving us steps leading to a life of liberation, freedom, and tranquility. Okay. It's not that your worries, your all that miseries are going to go away. No, it will be there. Okay, but how to handle that? That's what we are learning here. Okay. So all beings constantly make plans for the future, right? We all, even future means even when you get up in the morning, you'll be thinking what I should cook or what I should do, which bus I will take, or what. I mean, there are so many small decisions you will be taking. There will always be planning for the future. That so that thoughts in the mind, those things all will always be revolving, and then some get manifested in actions, but when you repeatedly doing it, that is, you get up early in the morning and it becomes an habit when you do it regularly, the same action. So that becomes your habit, and habit makes up our character. And then character determines our destiny. This is all comes from the thoughts. So how to take steps in the right direction is described here. So that way we can retune our thoughts, we can retune our consciousness, whether we want to go towards the Lord or you want to go towards the Maya. So there are steps leading to further entanglement in these worldly complexities. There are steps leading to life of freedom, liberation. So this is all comes from the thoughts. So this is how there. So if you can shift your consciousness, that's what here the main idea is. That is yoga, karma yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. Okay. You can change your destiny by trying to shifting your consciousness. So starts off with Arjuna asking whether renouncing work is superior to working with detachment. Krishna replies, both are equal in the same, because you're trying to renounce work, we want to reach the Lord, but because both are means to the same goal. But he emphasizes that working with detachment is easier and superior. I'm at not renouncing the work. You don't renounce the work. You work, but you with detachment to the results. Arjuna Uvacha Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna Punaryoga Cha Samsashi Vetshreya Yittayar Tan Me Bruhi Sunishchitam. So, oh Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work, and again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? See, in every time now this word comes, share. Even when he was asking in chapter, tell me clearly what I should do, because I'm confused. Dharma share. Samoda, he says there, that Karpanya dosha pata thing. When he says that, he says, I got confused. You tell me what is best for me. So Shreya is, I mean, it's not, no, he's not asking for short-term benefit. He wants to that long-term. He wants to have that happiness for the long term. He wants it in a long-term thing, not is asking fast thing. Like, he's telling me share, which is best for me. You tell me that. And show nishtita. And which of the two is more beneficial. So he got confused with this word, karmana sannyasi, whether that he has to renounce what, that the word. Okay. So Krishna says, and these things, if you see the flow of thing, every time when Arjuna is asking, there are certain words like Buddhi Yoga. When he entered, he thought he was very intelligent and he can uh, use his intelligence to not to work. Okay, that's what he was telling, and he told, and that's how he asked in chapter 3. I mean, renunciation is why Buddhi Yoga, why work at all. And then the Lord said work is required for our purification and how we to do. Okay. And then again, it says, why, if at all there's going to be some reactions and all that, might as well not do any work. Then the Lord gave about karma through jnana. That means you do the work with the knowledge. Then again, he talked like action in inaction, inaction. So this also was like, contradictory. Like, if you don't think it properly, you will get confused. And conclusion, and then after glorifying the transcendental knowledge, Krishna says, you stand and fight. So he gets a lot thoroughly confused. Like karma yoga says, and do with knowledge, and there's no duty for me, and action in action. So these things are puts him into doubts. Okay. It's not that Krishna's plan is to keep Arjuna counts. Okay. But when he's asking question, it's just for our benefit only, to stress that work and renunciation are not opposed to each other. Rather, one must learn to work in a renounced spirit, because you should not look at the results thinking that you are the cause of it. That result, whatever comes, it could be, it can give you enjoyment or it could be this thing, but still you should not get attached to the results. So Arjuna thinks that jnana implies renunciation of work, and that knowledge and work delight and this thing are contradictory. But Krishna emphasizes that one in knowledge has to work. So this is the whole thing. Okay. I mean, this is how it goes. Arjuna says, work for sense activity must be given up. Fighting for a kingdom, even with knowledge of the soul, seems like acting for the senses, because you want to enjoy kingdom. Therefore, it should be given up. But if one works with devotion, then how is work done? So he's like, he says not to work for sense enjoyment, but still we have desires. Are we to give up the desires? Which is better, with devotion or renunciation work? So, Bhagavan Uvacha, Sannyasam karma yogascha, Nishchayas karavabhav, Tayostu karma sannyasat, karma yoga vishishate. Vishishate is better. Renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. He says, I don't think, but of the two, work in devotional service is better than renouncing, because it's easier and it won't put you in trouble. So that's what the Lord says here. And also the fruits of activities, you should not dislike it or like it. Okay. Then it means that you are always renounced. If you are so attached to the results of the work, then you cannot be liberated. So when a person is free from such dualities, he easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated. So you are doing the work, but you are not getting attached to the fruits of the activities. Then it is known as you have done true renunciation. So that what will happen, the benefit is you will not get bondage to this material world. Only the ignorant speak of the... See, immediately the Lord, when he asks the questions, he clearly gives the answer clarity. And then after that, he'll explain why it is easier. So here he says, it's only the ignorant will think that this is different. Karma yoga is different from the analytical study of the material world. But those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results. So he says, only ignorant people think they are different, but actually it's the same. And one who knows that a position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and therefore sees both analytical study and devotional study to be the same level. Okay. So he explains in more detail. What does it mean? Prabhupada writes in the purport that the path you take, that they analyze everything. This is not neti, they go on, So that type of analysis, when they say finally they want to get detached from the matter. So in the first process, Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter. And in the devotional yoga process, what we're doing is we are attaching ourselves to the work of consciousness. So when you attach yourself to work of Krishna consciousness, slowly you get detached from the material. That thing will happen as a byproduct. So, but if you try to force yourself to be detached, that process is very difficult. So factually, both processes are same, although superficially, one process appears to involve detachment, the other process appears to involve attachment. Detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. So one who can see these things clearly is as they are. So he is telling, this is all you have to do. Doing devotional service is easier. So merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So he is now stressing that devotional service of the Lord is the only thing which will make us happy, because that is the supreme goal. And then you can achieve the supreme without any delay. Okay. He concludes that. That's why he says to get attached to the karma yoga, do it in devotional service. So both appear the same, but there are subtle difference. Like both, because you are detaching from the matter, you're not hating or desiring the fruits, you're freeing from dualities, you're getting liberated. But comes to understand that he is soul. And finally, what is the result? He'll come to know that he is the soul and not the body. So he wants to get detached from matter. Whereas these people, they come to understand that he is the soul and not the body, but they want to attach to working for Krishna. This is the crust difference between the Karma Yoga and the Sankhya Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Vishtati. They want to detach from matter. These people want to get attached to working for Krishna. Okay. So that is, you're not trying to deny the desires. Neither we are trying to kill them. What we are trying to do is we are trying to purify them by working for Krishna, by working in Krishna consciousness. Okay, that's what the karma. So the aim is the same. Find the soul of existence, super soul. Here you are trying, by this process, you are trying to find the root. And what is your focus is to be detached from the matter. But the thing is difficult. And it forbids, when you forbid something now in the mind will always focus on. When you try to be forcefully trying to not to do that work, the mind will always go towards that direction, isn't it? So he says that very difficult. Whereas you are trying to render service to the super soul because you know his existence and you're actually watering the root and not trying from the other way around. And this is spiritual attachment. And it is easy because you are engaging your senses for the Lord's happiness. Because your senses are engaged here, you're trying to control the sense, forbid it from some activity. So that way, this is easier. So that's how he says. Okay. Then comes, okay, you talked about the Nishkama Karma Yoga. That means you have to be selfless. That is, you have to do the work without any getting attached to it. Means what? We have to do selflessly. But how do you be selfless? It means you have to you do the work and you have, of course, you want to enjoy the results, isn't it? But here the Lord says, if you work without selflessly, then what happens? You'll feel more peace inside without understand. So working with detachment, Nishkama Karma Yoga. One performing Nishkama Karma Yoga, he will identify not with his body, not with the activities that his body performs. By his detached actions, he is freed from the reactions of his activities. Okay. How does he perform? He is in perfect knowledge. He knows he is not the material body. When that is his true identity. That is, I am the soul, part and parcel of the Lord. I want to render service to him. I will work in a detached spirit. This is how his mentality is. Okay. And what is this? Who is a Nishkama Karma Yogi? He is a servant of. He is very much fixed in that position. And work, what work do you do? Whatever the work is allotted by God. How do you do the work? I work hard with sincerity, dedication to my best ability. What do you do with the results? I hand it over to the Lord. So, this is what we mean by Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is always trying to work, please the Lord. Bodily conscious, they are greedy for the fruits of labor. That's a basic difference. So how he works, so now he's explaining the symptoms, how a person works with the thing. One who works in devotion is a pure soul, and he controls the mind and senses, and is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. So one may ask, why then was Arjuna offensive in the battle to others? Okay, let us see the purport. Hare Krishna. It's a very nice purport here. Anyone can volunteer, Hare Krishna. One who is in the path of liberation. I've been talking. Anyone can. Offer Karpagam of Prabhakar Naidu, Prabhuji.
Mataji, can I try?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. One who works in devotion.
Yes, translation. Start with the translation.
Who is a pure soul and who controls, who is in the path of liberation by Krishna consciousness, is very dear to every living being, and every living being is dear to him. This is due to Krishna consciousness. Such a person cannot think of any living being as separate from Krishna, just as the leaves and branches of a tree are not separate from the tree. He knows very well that by pouring water on the root of the tree, the water will be distributed to all the leaves and branches, or by supplying food to the stomach, the energy is automatically distributed throughout the body. Because one who works in Krishna consciousness is servant to all, he is very dear to everyone. His senses.
Yes, Mataji. And because everyone is satisfied.
I missed the line, Mataji. Because his mind is always.
Yes, Mataji.
And because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness. Because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. And because his mind is controlled, his senses are controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there is no chance of his being deviated from Krishna, nor is there a chance that he will engage his senses in matters other than the service of the Lord. He does not like to hear anything except topics related to Krishna. He does not like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna. And he does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not involved. Therefore, his senses are controlled. Any man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. One may ask, why then was Arjuna offensive in battle to others? Wasn't he in Krishna consciousness?
Yes,
Arjuna was only superficially offensive because, as he has already been explained in the second chapter, all the assembled persons in the battlefield would continue to live individually, as the soul cannot be slain. So spiritually, no one was killed in the battle of Kurukshetra. Only their dresses were changed by the order of Krishna, who is personally present. Therefore, Arjuna, while fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, was really not fighting at all. He was simply carrying out the orders of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Such a person is never entangled in the reaction of work.
Thank you, Madam. So here clearly it says that is when because one who works in Krishna consciousness is very dear to everyone, and because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is pure in consciousness, and because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. So see how Prabhupada writes clearly the person how he is when Krishna comes, because he's working for the Lord and is dear to his consciousness. No, he is dear to everyone and is not offending anyone, and everyone is satisfied by his work. Because it's satisfied, he is pure in consciousness. Because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. And mind is controlled means his senses are also controlled. Because why it's controlled? Because the mind is always fixed on Krishna. That is why it is controlled. And there is no chance of his being deviated from Krishna, nor is there chance that he'll engage his senses in matters other than the service of the Lord. This is what his focus is. And he does not clear. And this is the reason how a Nishkama Karma Yogi can be. Okay? How because he's thinking all the time, his consciousness that whether walked will be the thing, he won't look at the results, right? So he will be only thinking about how I can serve the Lord. So even if he's trying to kill the people, that is what Arjuna did in the battlefield. But he was only changing the thing. He knew that he was not killing them spiritually, but he's only carrying out the orders of the Lord. So one who works in devotion is a pure soul, and he controls his mind and senses and is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. Okay. So a person in divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smell, I mean, that is, he is engaging in senses into work, but always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking or evacuating, receiving or opening or closing eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects, and this he is allowed. That means the soul is not engaged, it has desired and there's for an activity, and the activities are carried out by the material senses, by the material body, by the gross body. So he is, whatever he wants to do, it is getting manifested by the gross body, right? He is thinking and is getting. So actually the soul is not the one who is doing is that. So that's the concept we have to understand. So one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. So no, the lotus leaf, when it is on the is the water, when there's a drop of water, the drop will be looking like this. It is untouched. I mean, there is water is there, but this leaf doesn't get soaked up. Okay. So this is how a Nishkama Karma Yogi is. The Lord says it's like Padma Patram Ivam Bhasha. That is untouched by like the Padma Patra. That is the lotus leaf. So this is how Nishkama Karma Yoga. That means he is actually doing the work, but he is doing it in Krishna consciousness. So he's not affected by the results or by the outcome of the work. Because outcome of the work, it could either result in a disaster or it could be a successful, but he's not. He's always doing the work because the work is given by the Lord. So he works with that consciousness. Okay. So you can see here, this is a video. I think I have to share the sound if you want to hear it. Share the sound. You can see how Prabhupada, no, this is a video of Prabhupada. He was in New York, the Central Park. He was doing this chanting. And he's just not perturbed by anything which is going around him. We can just see how it is. So you can see how he was not perturbed. The chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. It was going on in that park, Central Park. There were so many peas around and things. It was so focused, and that. So, and it had a profound effect on the people around. So the yogis, abandoning attachment, act with body and mind and intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. So the work we take, it's only as a purification. The Lord, you have given me the work, so I'm going to do it. So instead of taking sannyas of karma, he says instead of giving up the duty, you give up the attachment to results of the give up the results of your work, understanding that anyway nothing belongs to you. Then the work also doesn't belong. So this is what it is. Yuta karma palam tyaktva santim apnoti naistikam ayukta kama karena hari. So steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace, because he offers the results of all activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of labor, becomes entangled. So he clearly says here that if you are attached to the fruits, then you are entangled in this work. You won't get liberated. But if you work with the Krishna consciousness, then giving up the results of all activities to me, you get liberated. So attachment versus unattached. The difference between a person in Krishna consciousness and a person in bodily consciousness is the former is attached to Krishna, whereas the latter is attached to the results of his activities. So the person who is attached to Krishna and works for him only is certainly a liberated person, and he has no anxiety over the results of his work. Actually, when Prabhupada started off the thing, he was not sure that he was going to get it done in 10 years and all that. He just was thinking that this is the order given by spiritual master and I have to go. And he went with the preparation with whatever he could do. He could only complete one canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he had the manuscript of Bhagavad Gita. And he had got this one canto of Bhagavad Gita printed so that he can distribute it and the thing. So with that, he left from India to New York, right? And there he didn't know many people. He knew just one person had given him an ashriya for just 2-3 months. So, but, and not much he knew. He had only this, but still his focus, his mind and everything was on Krishna consciousness. So he used to go to the Central Park and do the initial days, he used to do this chanting of Hare Krishna. He said he believed in that. He said that Harinama has the power to change people. He believed in it. He believed in the order of a spiritual master. Otherwise, it won't work. And it worked. And he was not, how it took place, he can't, people were asking how you can get it done, how you think. But he had the belief. He said, if you works for the Lord in that consciousness, the Lord will help you. So this is how Nishkama Karma Yogi works. He will undertake all the things and he will continue to be in that consciousness. So this is a story from Bhagavatam about King Nirga. Okay, I don't know if you all know about it. I'll just repeat to tell you illustrates this thing. He was fond of performing fruitive activities, sacrifice as per the Vedic norms, So he used to do a lot of charity. And he was happily doing it because he was thinking he'll get a lot of punya or that. And he was involved in that. And give a lot of charity to Brahmanas, And what happened one day is he made some mistake took place. That is, he had given so many cows to a Brahmana. But what happened that one of the cows, instead of going to that Brahmana's Goshala, it went back to the palace, Goshala of the palace, which the king didn't know, nor did his people knew that. And so the next day, this first Brahmana was searching for this one cow was missing. So he was coming back looking for it. But on the second day, what happened? The king had given some more charity to another Brahmana, and this cow was also included in it, which no one knew. So the second Brahmana was leading the cow towards his Goshala, and the other Brahmana was coming and searching. So both were quarreling, saying, this cow was given to me yesterday. Why are you taking? And that person was saying, then the king came to know there was some mistake as well. So he was trying to pacify them, saying, no, some mistake, I think, but they were not, and they really cursed him, how you can do charity in that manner. So this mistake took place without his unknowing. So what happened? The result was he incurred certain sinful reactions because of that error. And when Lord Yamaraj asked him which one you want to, first you want to enjoy a punya or you want to do the penance for that papa you have done. So let me finish out that sinful reaction. So he became a lizard and he was lying in a well for a long, long time. So in Dwarparika, when the Lord came, Krishna came, he, by just touching the lizard, it got delivered by the Lord. Then King Kannada confessed what happened, the fruitivactors, and why he was lying there. So, doing fruitivactors without devotional service, and I'm thinking it's not. So, devotional service is an auspicious activity for the soul, doing it for the Lord. And not thinking that if I do all this karma kind of activities, which is there in the Vedic Vedas, that will help him to get. It will only get him to go elevate to the higher planets, but not to get the liberation. Okay. So, devotional service is the auspicious activity for the soul. With this, let me close and we can ask Chakal Abhyascha Kripa Sindhevacham Patitam Nam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo